What happened in the last 24 hours in geopolitics? Ukraine's defense ministry fired a senior commander after devastating photos surfaced showing a group of severely emaciated soldiers abandoned on the front line for months without adequate food or water. Spanish football sensation Lamine Yamal raised the Palestinian flag during FC Barcelona's triumphant La Liga title celebrations. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces intensifying pressure as 80 MPs publicly demand his resignation following the party's dismal showing in recent local elections. U.S. President Donald Trump stated he expects Taiwan and energy security to dominate the agenda during his forthcoming visit to China. Israel has enacted a sweeping new law imposing the death penalty and mandating public trials for those responsible for the unprecedented Hamas-led attacks and mass hostage-taking that shook the nation in October 2023. Brazilian activist Tiago Avila returned to São Paulo after being detained and deported from Israel, where he alleged he was tortured and witnessed systematic abuse of Palestinian prisoners throughout his 10 days in custody. Pakistan quietly allowed Iranian military aircraft to be stationed at its air bases during the recent Iran-US conflict, despite publicly presenting itself as a neutral mediator seeking to end the war. Meanwhile, Pakistan struck a rehabilitation center, killing 269 Afghans, and their devastated families are demanding answers. Palestinian couples gathered for a collective wedding ceremony amid Gaza's rubble and mass displacement, organized by a Turkish charity determined to restore dignity amid destruction. French President Emmanuel Macron announced a staggering $27 billion investment across Africa at a landmark summit held in Kenya. Iran hanged another man amid an intensifying wave of executions that has surged since war erupted with the U.S. and Israel. U.S. inflation climbed sharply to 3.8% in April as the ongoing conflict with Iran continued driving prices relentlessly higher. Saudi Aramco's CEO grimly warned that oil markets may not stabilize until 2027 due to severe disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu appeared before the Tel Aviv District Court for the 86th time to answer corruption charges filed against him. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is embarking on a 6-day diplomatic tour covering the UAE, the Netherlands, Sweden, Norway, and Italy beginning Friday. An Australian mining company agreed to pay 150 million Australian dollars to the indigenous Yindjibarndi people as compensation for unauthorized iron ore extraction on their ancestral land. Russia confirmed its forces are pressing forward with a special military operation in Ukraine following the collapse of the ceasefire. The EU is planning to invite Afghanistan's Taliban officials to Brussels for technical-level discussions on migration and repatriation. The U.S. has been engaged in active negotiations with Denmark over establishing new military installations in Greenland. Kabul flatly rejected Pakistan's account of a deadly attack that claimed the lives of 15 policemen in northern Pakistan. Venezuela's acting president Delcy Rodriguez firmly dismissed Trump's remarks about absorbing Venezuela as the 51st U.S. state, vowing her nation would defend its sovereignty at all costs. Antigua and Barbuda formally nominated Ecuador's Maria Fernanda Espinosa as its candidate for the next United Nations Secretary General. In Germany, Chancellor Merz addressed a trade union congress urging the country to finally implement long-delayed social security reforms as delegates responded with loud and sustained booing throughout his speech.